What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to Salty Runback, here to be your weekly intake of North American Developmental League of Legends. We are in our midweek episode, the day of the most exciting, most anticipated matchup of the NACL regular season. That is right, DarkZero Dragonsteel against Luminosity Gaming will be happening today on the NACL stream. And to preview that matchup and to learn a little bit more about those teams specifically, we talked to Dayos, Luminosity's head coach. A great interview as always. My name is Grapes, joined alongside Hawk. Hawk, how are you doing today?
Grapes, I'm doing all right. We had some fun games on the NACL today. I am the only NACL caster that's gotten both 3-game series on of the season so far. Shout out Apex Mission Impossible. I know Pocus. I shouted out our interview with him where he said, you know, he just wanted to prove that they belong. And I think a win over Winthrop University is a great step in that direction. Yeah.
And guess what? Guess what?
It was a lot of fun.
Pocus is playing Supernova tomorrow. You remember that? You remember that little discussion?
I'm a little afraid for Supernova. I'm not gonna lie.
We need to post a Shogo call out right before the
match
starts.
There is a show. Yeah, the Shogo call out. Oh shit, we should post that.
Yeah.
I'm off work tomorrow, so maybe I could try to tweet that out. Is it first or second series? Do you know?
I don't remember exactly.
Because I'm not setting an alarm tomorrow, which means I'm
that one,
gonna sleep.
And then it's also Luminosity versus DarkZero. But speaking
which
of
that
NACL,
one's first. That one's first. So yeah, Apex is second. Yeah.
Speaking of NACL, you were on the broadcast today, which means you weren't able to join this interview with Dayos, but it was a lot of fun. We talked about his entire journey through amateur, through NACL, through Academy, through CLOL last year on St. Louis, and then, of course, here back with Luminosity Gaming. I mean, just a really great person to talk to about the whole space. He's been around for a while, and he's another one of those guys that, he lives, breathes, and dies by this stuff.
I was about to say, I always love talking to Dayos. A good friend of mine in real life too. He's so fun to talk to because he's just so passionate about League, and I love just getting into it with him and going down the rabbit hole, talking about old games and stuff, and talking about the space. I'm excited to hear what he has to say. I'm sad I couldn't be there for the interview. Yeah, for those that don't know, I got a new job at a bar. So Grapes and I are basically working completely opposite schedules.
It was great. The other day, we were like, hey, when are you free to record Salty Runback? And our schedules literally were as soon as I was done with work, Hawk was starting work.
Grapes is I'm working 9 to 5. I'm like, great. I'm working 5 to 1. It's really fun. So we're still figuring that out. In true Salty Runback fashion, we can't stick to an upload schedule. But thank you to Grapes for getting the recording done, and thank you to Dayos for joining us on the show, because definitely a great personality, definitely a great person to talk to, and I'm sure he had a lot of great stuff to say.
Yeah, I know we're uploading this one on a Thursday. We're going to try to stick to the Monday, Wednesday as possible, but, if there is a world where we have to push things back a day, we'll make sure to let you guys know. Make sure to subscribe to this video, as well as follow us on all of our social media platforms, and check out the Patreon as well, because we got some more content coming up around there as well. Without further ado, let's send it over to our interview with Dayos. We are here with the head coach of one of the most hyped up teams in the NACL for 2025. Their goal is to win. They've been doing that well so far. It's none other than Dayos. You might know him from Dignitas, Immortals, St. Louis University, and now over at Luminosity. Dayos, how are you guys doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Excited for this little interview.
So, quickly, night before, the big game against DarkZero Dragonsteel. I think this is considered to be the hypest matchup of the regular season, maybe a preview of the finals. How are you guys feeling going in? I know you just wrapped up a scrim set as well. Vibes good?
Yeah, vibes are fantastic. I think we're very confident. One of the things we talk about all the time with the team actually is that confidence comes from being prepared, and I'm really confident and honest to say that I believe we're one of the most hardworking teams right now. Every day we show up, and the goal is to be the best version of ourselves when promotion comes along. So how else can we not feel but, ready?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, before we hit specifically on LG and all that, I kind of want to just talk about you as a coach, and also just you as a person in general. I mean, you've been doing this thing since 2017, so I just want to know the whole lore about how Dayos came to be. I see you haven't necessarily played in any tournaments, or you were never really a competitive player.
Well,
so what got you into League of Legends? What got you into coaching? Oh, okay. What's the lore?
If you did your research, you'd find out that I actually subbed in for the Tyler 1
That's what I was gonna say. Okay. That was the one thing I was gonna say, because we recorded an episode with Pocus, and we did an
Uh-huh.
episode, and we had him do a quiz where he named all of his teammates, and he actually remembered you because you played with him for one game.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes. That was. Yeah, I think our jungler was asleep during our first
Yeah,
match.
yeah, yeah. Okay.
Shout out Hayami. I think he owns a pastry shop, a patisserie now. So he's somewhere in Quebec. I don't know if he's anything in League of Legends, but Hayami, if you ever see this, he's the GOAT.
Well, outside of being a sub jungler for perhaps one game of the Tyler One Championship Series, the competitive
Mhm.
playing was never like the thing I guess you were striving for, or is that not true? What
Well,
got you into esports in general, I guess?
it's actually funny that you mentioned this because I was talking about this story earlier. So basically, I was just in like high school, right? And I was playing League. Even if you go before that, I used to have like 90 ping because they didn't move the servers yet.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that.
And then they moved the servers, and like I instantly became delusional. I was like, oh yeah, like this is my time to shine. And then I was like gold. I was like not very good. I went from like 80 ping to like 20, and I went from like silver to gold. And I'm like, oh yeah, like I just need to acclimate to the ping a bit. But anyways, I'm in high school, and then I was like browsing the League of Legends Reddit, and there was this thing where it's pretty cool, like this Discord server where you would be like split up into regions. So it'd be like Demacia, Noxus, and you would play like a 5v5 based on that region, like every week. So that was my first introduction to like competitive League of Legends. I think before that, I actually didn't really pay that much attention to like the LCS. So I'm like, oh, this is cool. You could play this game like 5v5. That's really awesome. Because I was just introduced by my cousin. So I was playing there, and then I met a couple of people, and we were like, damn, you know, it'd be really cool if you could play 5v5, but I don't have to like only lock in Garen or
Oh,
Lux.
so it was you could
Because
only play champions from like
yes,
Demacia or Noxus every week. Wow. Okay.
yeah, it's like the next evolution of Fearless. Like after Fearless, you're region locked.
Well, they did
You
like a
know?
show match of that, like at the LCS, like a couple weeks, like at
Yeah,
the start of the
yeah,
season. So it's like if you did that all
yeah.
tournament. Okay, that's crazy.
And then like I'm gonna start throwing out some OG names here. I met Dinka.
Okay,
Dinka used to play
remember
on
Dinka.
CLG Faith, or he was like a coach on CLG Faith. I don't remember.
Maryville for a while
But
too.
me and him became friends. And then I went into amateur. And some of the amateur teams I've been on, they're actually not here because they were like diamond master teams. So we were playing, and this is actually funny, really funny, based off of the context now. I was on like the B team of like I forgot what the org's name. It might have been Dawn, and the person who was on the other team was Niles back when he was a mid laner.
Oh wow, so you were like
So
his B team mid laner then.
well, no, I was an ADC main. Niles back then was a mid lane main.
Okay.
He was like diamond, right? It's just crazy to think about because tomorrow we're gonna be competing
Yeah.
like the most hyped up match. But literally, you go back like 10 years ago, right? And we're like still competing in amateur when we're younger. Back when we were like literally diamond. By the way, I made it to diamond back then, so I was clutching
Okay.
it up a
So
bit.
was it the ping or was it you actually got better too? A little bit of both.
I think it's the Ardent Sensor meta, and I was like a Twitch OTP.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
So
that helps for sure.
yeah, I mean it was OP. Anyways, that was it. And then I got benched from my team because well, I mean, they think I wasn't good enough. I thought I was great,
There's all
right?
this, yeah, amateur drama all the time.
I thought I was great. They benched me for a jungler, by the way. That was the crazy part. Like they had a jungler who role swapped. He was diamond 4. I was diamond 1 at the time. I'm like, you're benching me for this guy? Like, can I swear?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, this is
Yeah, I was
salty
like, this is
Runback.
bullshit. Like, how are you benching me for a diamond 4 jungle? So I talked to my coach at the time, and I'm like, yo, can you explain why I'm getting benched by this jungler role swap? And he's like, oh yeah, like we decided as like a group that I think you'll synergize with the team better. And then he's like, Dayos, I think you have like a good head on your shoulders. You always bring up like great points in review. I think you should think about being a coach, right? And that was like the first step.
Wow.
Yeah, funny thing actually. Myra, she used to work for Energy, right?
Yeah.
She was actually part of that same organization. So everyone in amateur is like super like intertwined. It's really crazy. But
It's like
that's
a
what happened there.
it's like a Canadian connection there too. I mean, you started
Yeah,
off
yeah,
a
yeah.
lot. You were at U of T, and then Mirage was like the where you really
Uh-huh.
got started. You spent like a bunch of years over there, and that's like a well-known Canadian organization. I feel like all the
Oh
Canadian
yeah.
league people like kind of really all are together. Like
Yeah,
there's some
totally.
unique bond over there.
Like even with like the University of Toronto, what ended up happening was I was coaching and helping out like a master challenger team 27 this December like September 2017. I was 17 at the time, right? And I saw that University of Toronto was looking for a coach, and I reached out to them. And I very explicitly never mentioned my age because obviously all of them are in university.
Yeah. Oh
They're
wow. So you
like
were in high school
ages
when you
like,
applied.
yeah, they're all like
Oh
20
wow.
plus, and I was like 17. And I made sure to never say anything about my age. I was like really vague about it. And then I think maybe like 3 or 4 months after we've been practicing, like someone asked me, I'm like, oh yeah, like I was still in high school. They're like, what? I thought you had kids. Because my brothers would come into my room,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then I'd like talk to them, and they never just asked me like, oh, like are those your kids? They just always assume. So that was pretty funny.
Wow. Damn.
Not the lying part, but like kind of
No,
the lying
that's
part was.
that's a crazy
Yeah.
story. Wow. You were coaching. You had it in you ever since you were even
Oh
in high
yeah.
school, and you're coaching collegiate kids. So
Uh huh.
wow, that's crazy. You mentioned your family a little bit. You said your cousin got
Yeah.
you introduced to League. I've been
Yep.
seeing you post a little bit about your brother, how he's starting to get into League right now. Is it a gaming
hmm
family over there in the Dayos household, or
Uh,
what's it
I
like over
think
there?
it's just well, my brother. His name's AJ. He's definitely the gamer. My sister doesn't really game. My other brother UJ doesn't game. They're twins, AJ and UJ. AJ, he primarily plays Valorant, right? He plays Stardew Valley, Path of Exile, Slay the Spire, some Minecraft, Roblox when he was younger. None of these are very like League of Legends adjacent. He only recently started playing recently because of Los Ratones actually. He was watching
Right, right.
Cadrill, and I started seeing him watch Cadrill. I'm like, oh bro, like you're watching League now? He's like, yeah, I'm watching Cadrill. I'm like, oh, this is so sick. Do you want to like play? And then we played. I mean, just recently, I like 1v1 them. We were playing Gwen Pantheon. I beat him on the Gwen side, and I'm like, this is what you're doing wrong. And then I went up to the Pantheon side, and I beat him again. And I just kept on beating him both sides. Honestly, it was
Well,
like kind
he's
of like cyberbullying.
he's just starting the game, and you're like a multi-year diamond player slash like
Whoa,
coaching
chill, 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 chill,
challenger
chill, chill,
teams
chill,
and
chill.
stuff. Like
I've hit GM. Chill.
hit GM, hit GM.
I've
Yeah,
improved. I've improved. Chill.
yeah. Well,
But
yeah,
yeah, man,
pro
I just have
pro
to show him like
coach.
what's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm sure this is what Viper General Sniper felt like. Like Viper comes in, he's like, "Yo, Sniper, like I'll just show you this matchup. Beat you both sides." Like, yeah, there you go. Do you feel like you got better? No, I just got shit on. I mean, there you go. What can I say?
so you're saying that your brother's gonna turn into the next goat, basically.
Well, he's got something. Like he's got it.
Okay.
Like low key, I think maybe Iron 3 right now level.
Hey, you started gold. Now you're GM challenger player. So
That's true.
there,
That's
there's
true.
there's a lot more room to grow. That's all I'm
I mean,
saying.
he's level 15 to clarify. So I think if you drop them in rank right now, Iron 2ish. That's not bad.
Once he hits level 30,
He's
though, everyone better watch out.
level 30. He might be bronze, but that's still pretty good.
Yeah. Talking about your journey through the coaching sphere, though, you've been in amateur, you've been in tier 3, tier 2, tier 1 even. You got a lot of jerseys behind you right now.
Oh yeah.
You got some Mirage stuff, some Radiant stuff. I guess like
Yeah.
instead of like going through each individual team, I'm just curious about like what era of amateur do you think was the best in terms of like the format, the players, the way the content was structured? Because there's been a lot of change over the last 5 years, and obviously now we're in this world where there's this like one-time OQ, and then like tier 3 is
hmm
basically just that plus like ACL. Very different than what it was back in like 2020 with like the scouting ground circuit qualifiers. So I'm just curious, like as somebody who's been a coach throughout all of these eras, like what do you think is like the golden age, or what was your favorite time to be a part of it?
I'm not sure if this was the golden age because I think the golden age of amateur was during open OQs, and that was before my time, right?
Right.
But there was a period of time in amateur where it was just like the most unbelievable, like crazy stacked amount of like tournaments just back to back to back. And it was like an open qualifier circuit where you would get points depending on how high you placed in each tournament, right? And I can actually screen share or just like send you a picture of this
This
because this
was
is
was
when I
this
was on
2020 when you were a Mirage?
it was like
Or
2019, like 2020, like when I was on Zenith for a bit.
okay.
This is when like Danny he was on like a team. I don't know what team he was on. He's on like a random team on Zenith maybe. But basically, like there was the big league, right? So that's one tournament. Then there was P1, which is another tournament, and then there was Upsurge, which is another tournament, right?
Yeah.
So you would get points for ranking high in each one of these tourneys, eventually to play in the SGC, the Scouting Ground Circuit. Now the thing was that all of these tournaments were like occurring at the same time. So every day there was just like 3 match days every single week, or like even sometimes 4. So there was like some teams where they were like, yeah, we're actually just not going to scrim at all. We're only going to play matches. And then some teams that are like, actually, we're just going to play like 6 days a week. And it was just crazy because I think that was probably the biggest grinding I've ever seen, like in the amateur team.
Yeah.
And all the people who are like trying to go pro now, like they were all in high school back then, or like they didn't really have lives. So it was just like full on grinding 24/7.
Back that was before I was really a part of things here. I think I started casting like 2021, so that was right when Proving Ground started. But I remember like following or like being aware of like this SGC happening because you would see Maryville play against like whatever. You'd see Maryville play a new like 5 times in a row in 5 different tournaments, and it was all like the finals to like try to get this like last spot. It was a little confusing for like the outside viewer because there was like 5 different Twitch channels you had to tune into, but I'm sure it was really fun if you were like really deep in the weeds. Because I've talked to like Cubby and Rafa about that because they were like casting all the leagues at the time back then, and they said that was a lot of fun too. But it was tiring because you had to cast like 5 best of 5s in a row.
Tiring.
But it did seem like it was like a fun time.
I mean, even thinking about that semi you just said, like a new versus EVU, like yeah, it was legit like a BO15.
No, for real, because you play like Monday in Risen, Tuesday in Big, Wednesday in Cup, or something like that. Yeah.
Oh my god, I forgot about Cup. Cup was there too.
So
and P1. Oh my god, there was 4 tournaments.
So you say that's the golden age, quote unquote, or like that's like when you look back and you're like thinking about all the time that you've been a part of.
Like everyone was really grinding it out back then. Yeah.
So you said you were with Zenith at the time then, that year?
I think I was like Zenith into Mirage.
So I guess were there any good memories of any of the players or teams that you were coaching back then?
Yeah, I have a lot of great memories. I mean, do you know Vacan?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Vacan was on my team on Zenith. We haven't talked in a while, but back then we were pretty close. And then I went to Mirage. I'm trying to remember what my roster was like on Mirage. Oh, that's when we had Dragoon, Hayami, Robbie Bob. And then after Mirage, we became like Dignitas Mirage.
Yeah.
Where we had Meech and Trevor. And then Meech and Trevor got banned.
Right, and then like Claritz was there for a little bit, right? Good boy.
Yeah, Claritz was there for a bit. That's where I met Ruxy. People don't know this, but Ruxy is actually one of the like the low key like NA goats. Cause there's not many, like every one of the most of the coaches that I knew back then, we've actually all had our shots at the tier 1 level. Like me and Tails were coaching back then. Tails was on C9. I made it to Immortals. Ruxy was also there, but he never made tier 1 or even tier 2 at NA. He went to R7, and then after R7, he joined BDS. Right, and BDS was doing really well back then. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, I would say like, overall like pretty cool experience.
It's crazy that we just interviewed Pocus as well, like as I just mentioned, and just like the amount of overlap that he's had with like all these different players over the X amount of years, and then finally making it to NACL is like, it's such a cool story. Like he makes it, and then he's playing against all these other people that he's like been teammates with in the past, or other people have like played against in the past. Like it's a very cool community that we're a part of, and everybody seems to like run into each other in some way, shape, or form at some point.
Like me, Pocus, and Wixie, we've been on teams together too. I actually have our jersey over there. It's like Virio. We went to a LAN together, and Pocus was our mid laner. He was Focus back then, but that was really cool. I remember one time we had like a draft disagreement, and we were like gonna wrestle, but he's like a pretty big guy.
You're gonna wrestle for who won the draft argument?
Yeah, well, it was just like I wanted to first pick this, and he wanted to first pick another thing. He's like, "You want to wrestle?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's wrestle." And I'm pretty sure I lost. But that was interesting.
That's something that only happens at like a LAN. Like that's the beauty of being in person in League of Legends. You can never do that in like if Zazel had a disagreement with you right now, like he couldn't like pull up to your house and wrestle for the draft pick, right? So it's a little
Yeah,
different
I
these
mean,
days.
Zazel would probably win the wrestling match too, but it's okay. Sometimes a player's got to win.
Yeah, no, for sure. Spent some time with like Dignitas Immortals as we were talking about. But then this past year you were over with St. Louis University. That's where you actually are still a student at right now. I guess
Yep.
if you want to talk a little bit about well, first of all, I want to know like where winning that LAN in Boise like ranks amongst like your top moments as a coach overall. And if you had any memories from CLOL this past year.
So my time with SLU was really great. It I don't know how to phrase this. Basically, like I did it, you know. I went from amateur, then I went to academy, and then I went to LCS. So like the 18-year-old me, the 17-year-old me, like I made my dream come true,
Yeah,
right? And that was fantastic. That was amazing. And then we went like double, like eighth, and then I got fired. I got let go.
happens.
Other like you could use other words, but
Yeah.
basically like the experience I had at the LCS was like not what I wanted, you know? And I had a lot of like growth and a lot of things that I learned during that period of time. So I was just waiting for my opportunity to put it into action. So when SLU became an option, you know, Chu, he spoke to me and he's like, this is my goal. I want to win CLAW this year. And I think that you'll be an important piece for that plan. And I told him, like, I remember this like pretty clearly. I was like, Chu, we're going to win CLAW like 100%. Like, trust me, and then we will win. Especially because like SLU back then, we had like similar players. I think the only like to be honest, I don't know that much about SLU. I know we had Darkwings, right? And me and Darkwings worked together on Dignitas Academy. And then Surdy ended up joining as well. So that was like our X factor, right?
Yep.
Funnily enough, like lane swaps became a thing. So it's like we signed like LeBron James, right? And then they're like, okay, nice, you have LeBron James. Well, we actually made a rule in basketball where you're not allowed to like dunk anymore. And we're like, oh, what
Yeah,
the
yeah,
hell?
yeah, yeah. Oh man.
What do you mean? Like I just signed this super insane carry top laner, but you're telling me that people could just make sure that it's hard for them to play carry tops?
But you know what?
I mean, that didn't
It
really
was it
stop
ended up
us.
working out. Yeah, like even if LeBron James might not be able to dunk, but he could still pull up from three.
Yeah,
You know, if he's the goat.
we found other ways to like incorporate him into the team. He was
Yeah.
still playing TF. He was still playing Vayne. We found our own ways to like break out of the meta there in the box a bit, and I think everyone stepped up. To answer your question, sorry, it was a bit of a tangent. My favorite moment of SLU was our boot camp and when we won.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen like the clip of us winning. I mean, you were there. I remember you were
We
there.
were there. Yeah. We were casting
Yeah,
that at the
the
end.
amount of like emotion on that stage, it was it was a lot, right? Like Winston was crying, Chu was crying, I had tears. It's when you put like basically your all. And even for me, like that was like a journey of 1 year. But in the case for Winston, like that was maybe 3 or 4 years in the making of him trying to win CLAW. Chu, 2 or 3 years in the making of trying to win CLAW. So like we put everything into it during that boot camp. We had fights, we had arguments, but we really consolidated as a team. And we left everything on the stage and we came out the victors. So it was beautiful.
Yeah.
That's how I want to phrase it. It was
My
beautiful.
my favorite part of that whole story is that like you guys looked a little shaky at the start of the tournament, right? Like
Yep.
even in like the round of 16, I remember like the UCSD series, you guys like won 3-0, but there was some moments in there that were like, oh my god, like this is what
Yeah.
SLU is playing like right now. And then you guys dropped to the lower
Uh-huh.
bracket a little bit like earlier than expected too. And it felt like oh god, like they're cooked, right? Like things it
Yeah.
looked like at that moment when you guys were in the lower bracket in top 8, everyone was kind of wondering like, oh man, what happened with what's going on with SLU? And then I guess that's like around like when things started to turn around, when you guys started going on that lower bracket run. Like as a coach, when your team is like in that situation, like what role, what values did you try to implement, and like what did you try to be for those 5 players who end up having to play the games at the end of the day and go on that run themselves?
Uh-huh. Let me think about it and like, just run through my memory because I remember we got 3-0'd by Maryville in finals. And we were I think maybe the expected, like we were like second on like the power rankings, right?
Yep.
And then after we got 3-0'd by Maryville, like we got sent to like the depths of fifth or sixth. Then every one of us were like, oh, like these guys don't know anything. No offense, like the
Hey,
people who are like, we're like these guys don't know anything, right?
it looked that series. It looked like Maryville was kind of playing against like not the second best team in the country. That's all I'll say.
I mean, it wasn't even close. I'll be
Yeah.
honest, the series wasn't even close at all. But no one was really like messed up about it. Like we all knew, because keep in mind during this entire time, Surdy was on the roster, but he never played with us.
Yeah.
Right? We never scrimmed with him a single time, and Doxa was there too. Then going into CLOL, we made the change to put in Skytech over Doxa, which like was surprising to a lot of people, right? Because we've been playing with Doxa for at least like 5 or 6 months at the point, but it's what made sense in the moment. So now like people think that we're like probably weaker. Then we play our first match versus UST. We get 3-0'd. I wouldn't say that there was like a boom.
That's
I
what it
think
felt like.
that
That's all. That's what it felt like from the outside, at least.
Well, it was bad. Let
Yeah.
me tell you, it was bad. Like I don't even mind saying this about Sky because like he's a pretty funny guy. But what happened was we get 3-0'd, right? Everyone's like in shock because we were doing so well at scrims leading up into it, and then Skytech's there and he's like, "Yeah, sorry guys, this one's on me. I think the back of my mind we were doing so well that I thought I could play like UV and win." And if you heard someone else say that, you could get like really pissed. But all
Yeah.
of us, like we kind of know how Skytech is, so it broke the mood a bit. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, we were still pissed, but it really got it going, right? On like how to like relock in. Then we played against Ole Miss. Oh my God, we
That was,
we
I think,
almost
my
got
favorite
3-0
series.
sweeped.
Yeah, that was my favorite series of the
Yeah,
whole year.
we went down 2-0, and then I really feel like I evolved, like on some Charmeleon into Charizard shit. I remember we were down 0-2, and like Winston, he's a really vocal part of the team. He was like the team captain, and he's like losing his mod. He's like, "Oh, we need to do this. We need to do this. Holy fuck! Like, there's no way we're gonna lose, right? Like, I can't believe it." And he's like really like, you could tell that he's really like feeling the pressure, and like most of the people are feeling the pressure. And I think I remember that I stood up really well as a leader, and I could only do that because of my experience at the tier 1 level. I
Yeah.
said, like, don't stress out. We are going to pick these champions. If we pick these champions, we will win. This is how we're losing. We won't lose like that again because of what we're going to be drafting. And I really realized that like my goal as the coach outside of teaching and coaching the game is being that stable presence when things are like falling apart, right? Being that pillar of stability. And I always find myself reflecting back on that moment whenever similar situations pop off. Like even recently in the near airport series, like after game 1, like we think we're going to an airport. We think that we're the favorites. We're really confident. Our scripts are going really well. We get literally every single one of our like highest priority champions, and then we get like fisted, right? And it's
Yeah.
like, oh shit. And like that's not the team that we are. There's a lot of nerves on that stage on that game. But when I pull up and I'm like, okay, we're gonna ban these champions. Like it's chill. Honestly, if you ask any one of my players, they're literally gonna tell you, "Do you remember what happened that day?" And what Dayos did, they're gonna say no, because that's how it is as a player. But from my perspective, I feel like just staying cool, calm, and collected. You don't really need to stand out. You don't need to do like a crazy speech. You just need to seem stable. And Tristan and me, I think, were really stable that day after in that first game, which resulted in the rest. Tactical too, which is yeah, he was really stable too. And we just rallied it up. Fake God was also pretty stable. Actually, I'm just gonna stop naming names.
We'll get to Luminosity in a
Everyone did
second.
the
Yeah,
job.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean back to Slew just for a second, because you're talking about that, like that whole evolution moment,
Mhm.
ending up on the top there. Obviously now you're with Luminosity, but you're still taking classes, I think, at St. Louis. Is that right?
Yep, I am.
And so I saw you guys signed up for CLOL this year. Didn't end up working out. It looks like there was some FFs here and there. Um,
Yeah.
I guess like what's kind of the status of like what the league team looks like right now? Like I know that the program dissolved, but are you guys still on scholarship over there until you guys finish up, or what's your goal of like being a part of SLU for like from this point forward after what happened after the season ended?
Yeah, so we're pretty blessed because of the climate at the moment with scholarships. A couple of teams, their players only have a year. SLU, hopefully, has us all guaranteed for the rest of our degrees, which is nice. I mean, that was going to be my competitive debut. I think I only played 2 matches as support. It really wasn't anything crazy. People were just busy with their
Yeah.
lives.
We were trying to piece
Once
it together, like
Luminosity.
who's gonna play? Is Winnie gonna like
Yeah,
play top lane? Is Aaron gonna like play support? Was Dayos gonna
literally.
slide in here? Yeah.
Yes, literally. I mean, Doxson was never supposed to play at all. But then, like 30 minutes before our match, it's like, oh, Winston or Aaron, like, are you guys available? And they're like, oh, we're not available. I'm like, okay, well, Doxson, you're coming in. You need to help us out here.
But I guess like for now you guys are just you'll maybe sign up and play if it works out for your schedules, but at least right now you're just focused on
Yeah,
getting your education while you're at SLU.
just doing school. We'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, we can make a comeback whenever. Like, we still got it. That's all I'm gonna say.
That's what I'm saying. Like if you ever pull up, everyone's gonna be like, oh shit, it's the defending champs, right? Like, coming back.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really glad that the school gave you that opportunity, and then you guys are, even though the program isn't really a thing anymore, the fact that you guys are still able to finish off your degrees is really cool. But
Mhm.
I guess now we can move on to what you're doing right now, which is head coach of Luminosity Gaming. You guys are one of the first rosters that that actually like got announced back in I think December or November or something like that. It was very
Yep.
early on in the off season, but like, what did those conversations look like? Like, did you watch? Were you a fan of like CS:GO back in the day? Like, did this organization mean anything to you or anything like that, or just like what was that like in terms of like joining this team and picking out the roster of players?
So I didn't know much about Luminosity in terms of CS:GO. I knew that they were in Smash, and the main thing I did know about them was the fact that they were like kind of a Canadian-based organization. So I thought that that was super cool. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I didn't know much about the organization. To be frank, to be
No,
frank.
that's
But
fair.
now, like, I'm super locked in on Luminosity. Like, I know everything. Like, you got to check out the Rising Stars top 10 coming soon.
Wow,
Like,
you're a great self
I know
promo guy.
everything. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. How was that process like? I mean, I think there was a pretty small list in terms of the coaches that they were looking for, and it felt very organic, I would say. I think that a big pro in my favor was that a lot of the players that they were looking at, I've previously worked with. So initially, how it kind of came to be, I met up with Alex, Alex G Logistics. He works for Luminosity, great guy, and he just kind of spoke to me, and he's like, "Hey, like this is our goal. Talk me through it." And I had like a presentation prepared where I kind of, highlighted my entire journey, which, kind of culminated into being like I told like my entire journey was based on learning. Just recently, I transitioned into like really putting everything to action and winning, and I won. And I mean, when you kind of drop it like that, like what are you supposed to
That's
do?
a
The guy
bar
was
right
like,
there.
damn,
Yeah.
damn. I'm like say that again. I'm like, yeah. I said, Alex, like I was learning, and I decided to perform, and I got a championship. You want a championship? I'm your man, right?
Wow.
And we started reaching out to players, and he's like, just talk to me. Who do you think is good? And I said, these are the players who I think like you have to like guarantee. We have to guarantee Insanity. I thought Insanity is for sure one of the best free agent mid laners available. And we also had like a working relationship before on the pass on Dignitas. And once we realized that Zazel was on board, like we had to lock down Zazel as fast as possible. And then after we locked down Zazel, things just kind of fell into place. But believe it or not, it was not intentional to remake the Shopify roster. It was just a situation where those happened to be the best pieces that had the best synergy, that had the best upside for what we were trying to accomplish.
It's also running back DSG or like Cloud9 challengers who like
Yeah,
won NACL a bunch of times, right? So like we see that and we're like, oh god, like the Kings are back, right? Like they were in tier one for a little bit, and now they're gonna like go run this league again. That was like a super
uh-huh.
hype announcement.
Yeah,
But
there's a lot of like hidden connections too. Like I mentioned my connection with David, Insanity on Dignitas. I was there as well when Aaron, Fake God, was also part of Dig. When it was
right,
Fake God, Dardoc, that team with Afromu. Me and Tommy both live in Canada. We actually went out to dinner one time together, and that's the first time that we met. I didn't even know like he was that into League at the time, which was funny. Tactical, we worked on IMT. The person that I actually have never interacted with before at all was Zazel, and I was a bit nervous like meeting him because he's one of the goats for
yeah.
sure. But now we have like a really great relationship where it's a very clear understanding that, I'm the head coach, he's like my team captain, and we're like guiding the ship onto the path that it needs to go.
Yeah, I mean, like, so much experience on that roster. Like, especially you mentioned somebody like Zazel or even Tactical, who was on like first place teams in the past in the LCS. Like, what's it like, kind of like managing all of those personalities or managing all of these players who have like been playing LCS? Now they're like together on a team with like a very specific goal in mind as well, which you tweeted out when the roster got announced. Like, the goal is obviously to promote into tier one. Like, what's it like trying to unify all these guys and like keep them all focused on this certain goal?
So one thing I say is that it's very easy. My job is very easy. Not to say that anyone could do my job, but I've been blessed with an amazing group of players. Finding that leadership within the team with certain combination of players is hard, but because I have Zazel on board, it's very easy. They already have pre-existing synergy, like you mentioned, from C9, DSG, even Shopify, right? So a lot of it just came down to like, okay, what went well for you guys back in those days, and how do I amplify it while at the same time giving my own like flavor, right? My own spice to this beautiful dish that's already been made and showcased to win. Yeah, I mean it's been great. What I can say is, at least for my career, I've kind of been typecasted as this coach who primarily works or should work with development rosters, like at the academy level. And that's something I did believe in. I really did believe that that's where my goal lied and that's where my value was. But as I progressed in my career, I've come to the realization that a lot of the things that I excel at, which I think are on the, I guess, interpersonal side, organizational side. Obviously, I think my game knowledge is great. You're not going to be the coach who thinks that their game knowledge is bad,
Right, right.
right? But like the leadership portion, right? Like I guess being like a really good human being who gets other human beings to perform their best, I think that's where I really stand in. And I didn't initially think that it would translate well to like a more veteran roster, but the answer is that's the exact thing that you need to transition into like the veteran roster, right? I think that the qualities that I brought mix really well with people who are experienced, because for me, one of the things I excel at is getting people on the same page and pulling out their full potential.
Wow, yeah. I mean, kind of full circle, right? Because at some point the way you have to get up into the tier one system is by like coaching these developmental rosters, right? But then
Yeah.
all of a sudden you get typecasted as that, and so this is you trying to like, I guess, break that mold a little bit. I mean, even on Immortals, right?
Mhm.
Like that was a roster with some newer players or some like not maybe not a developmental roster, but like like a team that was like maybe not didn't have like the highest level of expectations coming in even before any games were
Yeah.
played, right? And so now like being on this team where there are a lot of expectations, like this is, I guess you're saying that this is like your opportunity to prove that like you can also win at this level too.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, if you look at my career, this isn't like a flame to any of my past players, but every one of my rosters was built with the intent to grow and overperform. And I was known for like overperforming with like the people that I participated in, not just because of me, but because of the effort that they were able to put in. And then with Slew, I was like, okay, it's no longer about like overperforming, it's about performing, right? And hitting the expectations. And we hit it. It might not have been other people's expectations, but it was ours. And I want
Yeah.
to create that similar journey here at Luminosity. Like every day in practice, it's always like, what would a better team do? How do we do this at the highest level? We're not just practicing to an NACL. Every one of these guys have been promoted to LCS before. I have been promoted to LCS before. It's about how do we get back there and then stay there for good.
You talk about like every day at practice. Obviously, you said at the start of the interview you guys are like the hardest working team you think in the
Yeah.
league right now. Obviously the roster was announced like in December, but there was like a big gap period between then and the start of the year. Like, were you guys scrimming all the time like in the winter? And also like any thoughts on like how the spring split doesn't really have any impact in terms of locking yourself a spot in the promotion tournament, because I think you just have to do well in the summer split, and like how you're kind of managing that and making sure your players like stay focused throughout this long year-long journey that's going to have to culminate in that promotion at the end.
Hmm. So, sorry, I just completely like brain farted. What was the first
Well,
question?
first of all, like
And then I'll
how
answer.
long have you guys been practicing kind of on a regular basis? When the roster
Uh-huh.
was announced, or was it just like a
Oh, no,
month or
no,
so
no.
leading into the season?
We only started practicing when Zazel was available. So honestly, it was kind of a blessing for us that the season started much later than we expected it to, because then we would have had like little amounts of practice, but because, you know, it was pretty delayed in the back half of March, I believe, we got all the practice that, we thought that we needed.
Yeah,
And
and
then the
then
second question was,
just the fact that it's a long journey, right? Like you're not the promotion tournament is not until the end of the year, and honestly, like the results in spring, all you need to do is make sure you're in the league for summer, basically, so you can get a chance to be in that promotion tournament. Like, if you are, like, how do you keep the team locked in, like, even at the start of this split, knowing that there's like still so much more time to go.
hmm. So, I mean, this is something that we talked about from like a coaching perspective, a player perspective, and a management perspective. The answer is yes. The spring split doesn't matter. But let me tell you this. Do you think like a winner ever thinks losing is okay?
No, I don't
The
know.
answer is
Definitely
no.
not.
The answer is no, right? A winner wants to win everything, right? It doesn't even matter. I'm a win tic tac toe. I'm a win like rock paper scissors. I'm a win everything, and that's kind of like the mindset that we're at right now. We're not we're not putting in 110%, right? And the reason why is because it doesn't make sense competitively to burn out when we need to peak at the right time. But it doesn't mean that we're not taking this split seriously. We're actually taking this split very seriously from, I guess, how do I phrase this? Just from like a mentality aspect, right? Like maybe not like full like effort wise, but from a mentality aspect. So what do I mean by that? Basically, each like match day is very like special and important, right? Because at the end of the day, the team you are on match day is the only team that matters. Like whatever you do in practice, like you could be doing whatever, you could be smurfing, but if you like shit the bed on match day, then that's what it is. So we try to like elevate the pressure on ourselves, right? And then we always like mention like, okay, match day we have to be like this team, X team. So at the end of the day, like spring split, it's about okay, how do we increase the pressure to make it feel like it's like summer so that we perform well in like summer or the promotion tournament. How do we track our progress to see if we're actually improving in between the weeks, because this is going to be the same structure in summer, right? And I mean, I have stuff there prepared. Like, I mean, I don't even mind showing this. I could show you something really quickly. Like, this was like our goal tracking versus near airport. We had like a 5.21. This is a combination of all of like the goals that we're tracking, and the
Oh
week
wow.
before it was 5.0, right? Um, so it's just like, okay, first of all, is this real? Like, are we actually improving? We say that we are. What does it showcase on match day, right? Does it showcase in our scrims? So we're like really pressure testing our systems in place and making sure that what we're seeing like is correct.
Interesting.
I'm
Do
not
you
sure if I
mind
did like a
do you
very good
mind
job of like explaining this.
do you mind going into like what the whole what this graphic and what this chart represents a little bit more?
Yeah, so we have two team goals, which is like rate the day, right? And another goal would be like the main concept we're working as a team. And then each person has 1 to 2 goals individually that they're working on, right? And the way it works is at the end of the day, they input a score, 1 to 8. So the maximum is actually 8, right? With 4 being average, 5 being above average. And we just like check at the end of the week, like this is how well you think that you progressed, right? This is how well you think you progressed. This is how well we think we progressed as a team. And this one is just like an overall graphic overall of everything. So here it's like 5.21. That means that we think that last week as a whole, our practice and our improvement was above average. Now sometimes like players can put whatever the hell they want, right? It's on me to like really like pressure test and make sure that everything is going across the board. But this, in my opinion, like is a good step, making everyone at the very least like cognizant. right? Just
Right.
aware of like this is how our progress is going. This is what we're tracking. This is what we're aware of, and what we consider important.
And so you say the goal is to have this number, this average score, improve every week, meaning your practice is getting more and more effective every week, or is that not
I mean, it's
necessarily
it's
the
also
case? Can it
fine.
also vary back and forth?
Like every team will have a bad week, right? That's just par for the course. It's about how you bounce back from that. Uh, for us, it's like okay, one, this kind of reinforces like yeah, what we're doing is working, right?
Yeah.
Based off of the data. And then after the data, it's like, okay, is it actually working based off of our eyes and our feelings? Like our eyes, our hearts, our minds. Like is everything actually true? So data is supposed to always support like what you believe is true. In this case, like we make good correlations here. Because I agree. I think our practice going to near airport was good, right? And then on match, was it perfect? It was not perfect, but it was within expectation. So our match versus DarkZero now is going to be a real test because I'm pretty confident that our scores are going to be like relatively high as well, and it's about like seeing that transition.
Yeah, I mean, let's dive into that a little bit because that's the game that's happening the day that this episode comes out. Number one
Yeah,
versus number two in terms of like everyone's power rankings for the most part. Um, I guess overall, like, first of all, do you agree with that? Do you feel like you and DarkZero are like the best teams right now? I know you just played near airport as well, so some people are kind of considering them third. Like, what are your thoughts right now about how strong the teams in the league are?
yeah. I think DarkZero for sure is really strong. I mean, we scrim them a lot. We play against each other a lot, so we have a lot of data. I think that they obviously believe that they're the best team in the same way that we obviously believe that we are the best team. What I will say though is that on the Luminosity side, we're not taking things for granted, right? Like for us, it's really important to have like the underdog mentality and always look at every opponent with like the same level of respect and know that each one is going to be a battle. So even though for near airport, for example, like we came in there confident, the expectation is that versus a good team, we will always have to fight for it. And at least what I could say for this week, one of the themes that we talked about was being unbreakable, right? We talked about how like at the international level, at the highest level in like LCS, the main difference between like winning and losing versus good teams is making sure that they have to force you to make a mistake, right? And the thing is, when you're at like the tier two level, a lot of the times you'll like stumble into your own mistakes, or the enemy team will like give you a free one, and just like recognizing like, okay, are we disciplined enough to like snowball the games properly? Are we like unbreakable when things are tough, right? Like, do we need to force them to make us lose?
Interesting. Yeah. Unbreakable. That's a really cool phrase. I'm like especially just going into this series. I'm gonna keep that in mind as we're watching here. Last thing, I guess, just expectations. Any expectations that we should have for this match, and is there any player specifically that you are expecting to have like a really good series against DarkZero? If you want to like try to hype someone up in the pregame.
Expectations. I think it'll be 3 games. Honestly, I think that both teams and both coaches are, I guess, very stable. And if something were to go wrong in game one, there'd be like a really strong action to bring it back in game two. Or sorry, it's a really strong plan to bring it back in game two. So we'll have to see. In terms of standout players, I'm really excited for everyone on my team, honestly. I'm especially excited to see Tomio. I think that in a lot of power rankings, people have Tomio pretty low. I think that he's an incredibly strong jungle, and tomorrow he's going to showcase that and prove it.
Hey, no better person to showcase it against than the two-time MVP, right? So
Exactly,
if
exactly.
he can do that, then obviously right back towards the top. So ready to
I
prove
mean,
people
well, I'll
wrong.
I'll tell you, week one he took out one of the North American goats, Spica. Now it's time to take out the tier two goat.
That is true. NA GOAT first, former MVP, former former most valuable prospect. Next on the menu here for
Yep,
Tomio. Okay, he's gonna go through
exactly,
the gauntlet here as the
exactly.
Luminosity takes on DarkZero Dragonsteel. Dayos, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on and talking with
Thank you.
us.
Sorry, I'm a rambler. I'm so
No,
sorry.
no worries at all. We love the content. I'm sure all the people at home are gonna like it as well. Any last shout outs, any final messages that you want to
Shout
deliver
outs.
here?
Yeah, I mean, shout out Luminosity. Shout out hashtag Rising Stars. Uh,
There you go.
Shout out my team, right? Especially shout out to Zazel, our team captain. Shout out to my family. Shout out to all the teams that gave me a chance to grow into the person I am today. So shout out Dig,
Yeah.
shout out Immortals. I'm actually wearing an Immortal shirt right now.
I know. I was gonna say you're not even repping your own current team right now. It's one of the
Rest
old
in
dogs.
peace. We're gonna get the jerseys soon. They're really cool. So once you see them,
I'm
they're really
excited.
cool. Yeah, shout out to you, Graves, for bringing me on the show, and shout out to everyone who's gonna go watch this video, a 1 hour video from an amateur, a
Hey,
tier 2 coach.
there enough people come back that we keep putting these out here. So it's,
Oh, I'm not on
enough.
that.
Yeah.
Shout out Spawn, right? Shout out Golden Glue. These guys are like the people I guess I look up to in the North American scene because they're doing what I want to do, right? Which is tier 2 to LCS to Worlds. Like that's the end game for me too, and I want to be up there with them.
Hey, well,
Shout out to a special someone out there. There you go.
you get one step closer potentially with Luminosity performing well, starting with that matchup up against DarkZero Dragonsteel. Thank you so much, Dayos, again for talking with us, and best of luck tomorrow.
Peace.
Thank you very much to Dayos for sitting down with us and learning a lot about what he went through and his journey, and also what currently Luminosity is up to as well. I mean, it seems like they're pretty confident about their series versus DarkZero Dragonsteel Hawk, but
Yeah.
it's gonna be a close one, that's for sure.
I feel like no shortage of confidence, especially for someone like Dayos. It was so funny to me. Sorry, when we interviewed Zazel on the NACL broadcast, and we're like, that series was crazy. How do you feel? And he was so chill. He's like, I don't know. We're kind of just both old men. I'm like, I'm just thinking about that because
Great interview.
Dayos is so high energy, and there's a really fun juxtaposition there, I feel like, with some of his veteran players. But maybe that's what probably actually makes the team work really well, if I had to guess.
I mean, he said,
But-
I know you didn't get the chance to listen to it yet, but he said that he's like the coach, and then Zazel knows that he's like the secondary leader, but like the team captain mostly. So
Does not
kind of
surprise me
taking
at
that
all.
little step back, but also being obviously somebody with a lot of experience, which is very cool. He also said that he was like a little scared to talk to Zazel at the start because he's quote the GOAT, obviously like world semifinalist and everything. So nice to know that like we all kind of have those same thoughts, even if you want to see.
I
them
was
before.
afraid to talk to Zazel on broadcast. No,
Exactly,
that guy's
yeah.
a legend, man. And I mean, everyone knows that Zazel knows ball. So I think it's cool. I'm not surprised that he is seemingly probably a really easy person to work with, though, just based on the impression that I get. Which is definitely very cool. I love the part of the interview where Dayos talked about how much they cooked in the Game 3 draft.
He actually we didn't bring that up.
I'm gonna
unfortunately.
kill myself.
We hit on the near airport a little bit.
Okay,
but
all right, it's
yeah.
fine, it's fine.
Mostly how they like reset their mental after getting stomped game 1, which was fun. But
Right.
yeah,
I
before
love
we
that
go,
part of the interview.
what what are you thinking? This is, I know like we don't normally do these like predictions before a regular
Yeah.
season game, but this is like the regular
No,
season game.
It's the regular season game. Look, Deus, I'm sorry. But I'm taking DarkZero. I've been saying this all year. Like, this is nothing new. I've said for like 3 weeks in a row on Salty Runback that I think DarkZero is the best team. I think it's going to be really competitive, and it will not surprise me at all if Luminosity wins. Like, I feel like right now the money line is like plus minus 100. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be a really close series. I do have DarkZero 2-1. Would not surprise me at all if it goes the other way. I think the more important thing is we're going to really get to watch, I think, some great League of Legends between two teams that are most certainly promotion hopefuls for the LTA.
Dayos even said he was expecting to go 3 games. After talking to him, I'm convinced. I'll take a Luminosity 2-1 just to play contrarian, just to play it for the crowd a little bit here as well. Dayos said that he's hoping that Tomio has a big series. He said he took down the NA MVP in Spica, and now he's going to take down the MVP in the NACL.
That's
in
pretty
Yuji this
based.
game.
I'm not gonna lie.
That'll be a fun matchup to watch. Jungle matchup between Tomio and Yuji. But that's going to do it for this episode. Make sure to check out all of the League of Legends that are happening. I know we didn't do a lot of CLOL this week, but CLOL Office Hours will be dropping tomorrow on our Patreon page, as well as any other content that we post around there. We're getting closer and closer to that bracket being dropped, and we'll make sure to keep all of you guys updated on all the League of Legends that are happening here in North America throughout the week.
Yeah, I know. Watch this Office Hours, especially because I'm going to be on it a good amount, because I'm going to go through my tournament resume sheet for realsies this time. And also, I don't know, I'm probably going to do a bracketology again based on my sheet, so I think that'll be fun to kind of go through. Check out all of our socials. I realized we didn't plug any of this stuff in the intro, but at Salty Runback NA everywhere. Join our Discord. Everyone, we're continuing to get more and more faces that we know from throughout the scene, which is really, really great. Some people that like I would not have expected to see too. Like I know the captain of like Carleton University joined our Discord the other day, which is like shout out Carleton. So yeah, join the discussion. Check us out at Hawkcast at Speedy Grapes as well. And if you think that Luminosity is going to beat DarkZero, you can take what I said with a grain of salt. I've been Hawk. That's been Grapes. Have a good